Welcome to Module 1.2. In this section, we're diving into one of the most powerful features of Pear Deck, its interactive question types. Pear Deck offers 6 different question types that allow you to engage your students in real time and collect responses from every student, not just the ones who raise their hands. To begin, we'll want to start in Google Slides. You can use something that you've already created and you want to enhance, or you can start from scratch. If you haven't really used Google Slides, here are some ways that you can access a new presentation. I can come into my drive and simply click New and Google Slides, and that will open up a blank presentation for me. If I already have something created that I want to enhance, I can search my drive for the name of that presentation, or I can filter by type and go to presentations, and all of the Google Slides lessons that I have will show up. There's also a shortcut that you can type slides.new into the browser bar, and that will bring up a blank presentation. Just note that if you do it this way, it's not really organized in your drive, so you'll have to move it to a folder where you can find it easily in the future. And then finally, we can also do all of this through peardeck.com. Once you're at peardeck.com, you can log into Pear Deck. And we'll want to log in with Google. Once we do that, we have a couple of options. I have this Open Existing File button here, where again, I can search in my shared drives or my Google Drive to find pre-existing lessons that I would like to enhance. Or I can click this Create button, which will give me 3 options. A custom lesson will give me that blank lesson where I can start from scratch. Instant lessons and convert a document we'll explore more later in the course, but these will use AI to help you build a lesson. So if I click custom lesson, again, it's going to bring up a blank presentation, except on this one, it will give you a little introductory slide to kind of give you some information about getting started. Once the slideshow populates, you'll see that there's a little introductory slide here that just kind of tells you how to get started. Of course, you can add new slides, and once you are ready to launch this to students, you can always delete this slide so that it's not in the way of your lesson. But for what we're doing today, I'm going to stay in my presentation here and add to it. To begin, we'll want to open the Pear Deck Google Slides extension. Up here at the top, we'll want to click Extensions, scroll down to where it says Pear Deck for Google Slides add-on, and open Pear Deck. Once the extension launches, we will have the options to make our lesson interactive. There are some other choices here, but we'll explore those later in the course. So to begin, let's look at a draggable. Draggables are interactive elements that students can reposition anywhere on the slide. Something to note, the symbols have to be from Pear Deck. It's not the icons and images that you have on the slide. If I have something that I wanted students to reposition here, that will not work through Pear Deck. So this question type allows your students to drag icons around the slide and place them. This could be used with maps. In English, I've seen them position symbols above certain words to show the part of speech or other things like that as well. So to begin, we'll want to click where it says draggable. And on this one, we're going to add some symbols to make this expressions true. So I'll click on draggable. When you first are using Pear Deck, each question type will bring up a little introduction for what the question type is. If you don't want to see these in the future, you can say, don't show this next time, and then continue. Now, once the editor pops up, I'll be able to choose from text or symbols. If I want to put my own text to have them move around, I can do that and type that in here. Or I can use the pre-populated symbols that Pear Deck gives you. So we have some shapes, some math symbols, numbers, some little icons, and punctuation. So for this one, I need some equal symbols. I can also choose the color I want those to be. I can also choose the size. For this question, I want to add a couple of the same symbols so that they have the choice to answer the question in a variety of ways. So now I'm going to add my less than symbol. I'll add another. I'm going to have these be the same color so that I can layer them on top of each other so they kind of look like buttons. And then finally, I want to add that greater than symbol. Whoopsie. All right. Once I've got the symbols that I want to add and I have them positioned in the places that will make the most sense for students to be able to access them, I'll hit Add to Slide. Now, while we're in editing mode, we won't actually see the symbols, but once we go live and we've started the lesson, we'll be able to see those symbols on the student end. All right. The next question type we have is a drawing response. This one allows students to unleash their creativity and allows them to draw directly on the slide. It's great for labeling, fill in the blank, and more. This one gives the students the ability to use basic paint style tools to draw or type anywhere on the slide. So you'll see they'll have some different color options. They have a highlighter tool. They have a line tool, some different things like that that allows them to draw all over the slide. One thing you'll want to note is that they will be drawing on top of the slide. So you'll want to make sure that you've given them that space to draw or label and given them the instructions that they'll need. A draw slide is very easy to add. There's not a lot of steps to it. Again, I'll just click draw over here. Again, it's going to give me that preview window. And then on this one, I just click add to slide. Then my toolbar is going to show up. Again, I will not see the interactive parts until I go live. Another thing to note, this toolbar on the bottom that is added does need to stay on your slide. You can make it smaller if you need more room on your slide, but you just can't remove it or the interactive parts will not work. The next type is a free response. This allows students to type a response while referencing your slides. So this could be for quizzes or short answer prompts. On this one, this just lets them type. They can be shown in order, or you can look at it as a grid once it's live and students are responding. For this type of question, we will click text. And this one they won't draw on the slide, so you can fill the slide with information. A little text box will pop up on the side for them to type in once we go live. So we can add sentence starters to help them, different things like that. The next one is a number response. This allows your students to submit number-only responses, again, while referencing your slide. For an example like this, we might have a math question or something else that's going to use numbers. I will click the number interactive. Again, I'll have that pop up. I'll just click continue. And from here, I can add the correct answer that I want them to put in. We're going to round to the nearest number, so it's going to be 565 is the correct answer. If I've got more options, I can add those. If I want to type point values to this for the grading, I can do that as well. Once I'm ready, I'll just click add to slide. And now, once we go live, this will be interactive for students. Multiple choice is another option. This allows students to submit a response from a list of options while referencing your slide. This is really great for quizzing. For this one, the students will just select an answer. They'll see the slide off to one side and they'll pick the response that they believe is correct. For a multiple choice answer, you do get to pick correct answers. You can also pick more than one correct answer. So it's great for multi-select type of question practice as well. Once I'm ready to add the multiple choice question, I'll want to select choice from the interactive elements. I'll again get that preview window, and then I'll have my options. Now I had 4 choices, so I want to add another option. Something that I do find a little frustrating with Pear Deck is I cannot move this box to see what's underneath my slide or to copy and paste what was on that slide. So in the past, what I've done is put up my slides in another window so that I can go back and forth and copy and paste my slides back into these answer choices. But I know that is kind of a point of frustration, at least for me. Students will be able to see what is on the slide. So I'm simply just going to put A, B, C, D, and they'll be able to read them off of the slide if I don't have the opportunity to copy and paste the full response. Then I'm going to check the correct answer. Again, with this type of question, I can select more than one type. So that gives me the opportunity for students to practice those multi-select questions from STAR 2.0. Then once I'm finished, I'm going to click Add to Slide. Again, I've got my toolbar down here that makes that question interactive, and I'm ready to go live. The next type is a poll question. It's very similar to multiple choice, but this one is just kind of to get a pulse. It does not have a correct or an incorrect answer tied to it. You also cannot attach point values to it. For this type of question, I will select poll, and it's going to be set up very similar to multiple choice. I have the option to add other options, but you'll see I don't have a place to select a correct answer. Again, I unfortunately cannot see my multiple choice responses. So for this, I'm just going to put A, B, C, D, and they'll have to read the choices from the slide. But again, I do prefer to have the questions in there for students to read and select from, but whatever works best for you and your students. I can also allow them to select more than one response with this type of question. It's just there's not a correct answer choice presented and it can't have point values. And I'll click Add to Slide, and now I'm ready to poll students. The next interactive type is a website. With a website, you can embed a website directly into your Pear Decks. This is great if you want students to read an article without having to go out to the internet on a separate tab to do that. It's also great for embedding things like Google Forms, where I can have a picture on one side that they're referencing, and then the Google Forms show up on the other side for them to respond to. For this one, we're going to add this website down here so students can read an article. So once I have my website, I can click the interactive website button, skip the preview, and then I can paste that website into the URL bar. Once I have that in there, a preview should show up. If it doesn't, it might be a lockdown site where students have to log in. They will have the option to click a button to have that open up in another window if that's something that they need to sign into. But this does allow me to preview it. Again, if it shows up as a gray box, that website might not work, or there just won't be a preview for it and they have to go out to another window to access it. And then I'll click Add to Slide. Right. Now I've got my toolbar down at the bottom to make that interactive. The final interactive type we'll look at is adding audio to your slides. Audio works a little different than the other interactive types. Most of the other interactive types, I can only put one per slide because it kind of takes over that slide. But with audio, I can use these in addition to a blank slide or to any of these interactive types. So if I wanted to maybe give instructions or text to speech for students who need that, I can add that audio. So simply click that button. Then I have the choice to either upload a sound if I've got something, maybe I used 11 Labs or another online tool to record a voice, and I've got that saved, I can upload it, or I can record within here. So audio how-to. Audio can be added to your new or existing slides as a supplementary teaching device or student resource. You can record or upload audio to a slide, which will show in the lower right corner of the student's screen for the respective slide. So once I have read what I want to read or given the instructions I want, I can click pause. I can either delete that recording, or if I like it and I want to save it, I can click done. I can preview that audio file. If I don't like it, I can re-record. But if I'm ready to go, I can just click add audio to slide. I can only have one audio per slide, but again, I can have multiple interactive types. So I'm going to click add to slide. And then once we go live, students will have access to hear that information. A little box will be put onto the slide. This has to be there, but again, you can make it a lot smaller. As long as it's there, the audio will work. So that is the 6 question types, but what does it look like when we go live with this? So now let's preview what it will look like on the student side once we go live. So again, if I don't have my extension open, I want to add that or open that extension. And then from here, I can start the lesson, which will go in more depth on this later in the course. Just to quickly show you the different activity types, I'm going to choose student paced. Okay, once I have the lesson open, because I chose student paced, it goes straight to the teacher dashboard so that I'm able to monitor. So I'm going to copy that join link and add a new session as a student, just so you can see what the question types look like. Students will first be asked how they're feeling today. You'll have this data on your dashboard. Then from here, students will be able to preview the slides. Immersive reader is another thing we'll talk about later, but that does pop up in the corner for them. Any text that's on the slide will be able to be read to them. So with this one, now that it's active, I can drag these symbols around. As the teacher, I can see what students are on where and how they've responded. Again, we'll go more into this later in the course. All right. So a drawing response, now that we're live, you'll see the students have access to draw on the slide. They can choose from a variety of different colors. They can highlight, maybe if I wanted them to choose the important verbs or something like that in the question. They can draw lines, and again, those can be different colors if they needed to label or underline in different colors. Students also have a text box option that they can type different things on the slides, and then they can reposition those to fit within the boxes or whatever I need them to do. They also have an eraser tool if there's something that they don't need on the slide anymore, and an undo button, or they can start completely over. For the text response, you'll see I have a box here that allows students to type their response, and they'll still be able to see that whole slide, any sentence starters that we provided for them so that they can type that response. For the number response, they'll just simply type the number and then they can submit that work. Everything also automatically submits even if they don't click the submit button. They can also use the arrows to change their response if they need. Multiple choice, again, will show up over here. Because we didn't type out our full responses, they'll have to read it from the slide and then just select the answer choice. Again, type whatever works best for you. For this one, we did have a correct answer, so we'll want to pick that. Then we had our poll option, same as multiple choice. The choices will show up over here for students to select. We'll look at later in the course what this looks like once we're on the teacher dashboard. And then we have our website. For this one, we embedded that website for them to read, and then we could have put another slide for them to respond. Again, we can only do one at a time. This was another example of a website, but where we have a Google form embedded so that they can answer some questions and we can get maybe some feedback that is graded that we're able to use but not have to leave the Pear Deck lesson. And then finally, we had that audio option. On this one, it'll show up down here in the corner next to the immersive reader button. If there is audio, the students can simply click the button and then that audio will play. So those are the question types. This is the end of Module 1.2. Some extra resources within this course page. If you drop down, you'll be able to see the slideshow example. We have one-pagers for each of the instructions for each of the question types if you're more of a reader. And then we also have an example for each of the core contents of a lesson template and then what it looks like live. So you're able to see when I'm editing what the lesson looks like, and then once that goes live with students, what that looks like. You can also practice within these lessons as a student, just like we did on the last slide. Then at the bottom of the lesson page, you'll see the action steps for submitting for this module. You're going to be creating a lesson. Again, follow the steps either in the slides or the video to create your lesson, either from scratch or add on to something you have. We would like you to try each of the interactive question types, but a good lesson doesn't have to have every single one of those question types. Think about what makes sense for you, your students, and your content for that day. Then kind of think about your lesson and how these will help assess students. Again, not every lesson needs every question type. And then on the next page, you're going to submit your link. The instructions for that are here. And again, if you have any questions, please reach out to your digital learning team.